All right, so one of the things that I did was I went back and changed the color of the line work. I just felt like that brownish gray was not getting me the look that I wanted, and it wasn't feeling crisp. So I came back in and I just used kind of, I think this is probably an 80% gray. And so now we're at the point where I've made all of the changes to the color, although that didn't seem like that changed. And now we have to make sure that everything's lining up. And so you can see that we have a little bit of cleanup here. We will turn that back on and unlock the layer that we need to be on. And so you can see that that goes a little bit too far. This doesn't go far enough. So there's always that when you're drawing on different layers and you're not able to view them. I did actually view this for a little bit. What I did was I turned all of the orange blue while I was drawing so that I could do it semi-transparent, and I was able to see the blue a little bit more. So you can see that I made that curve feel normal, and if we wanted, we can bring this down a little bit lower since it's going back in space, and that would be a normal thing for it to do, you know, in terms of perspective. But there's all these little things, and the reason why I decided to change this color is because this had an outline in it, and I didn't like the way the look was working with that. So there's a little bit of an issue here. I'm going to kind of ignore it just to make things a little bit faster, and call his body kind of done. I don't want to kind of bore you guys with details because I could go in and like really invest in a million details. So let's focus on his head. So we're going to turn all these guys off, and we're going to turn this off. And we need to start thinking about what's happening here. So we have, we're going to start from the bottom up, and then we'll go in and put the lines back in. This might be a little bit of a long video. All right, so what I want to do is I want to make this be one line, and then I'll turn it into an outline. So I'm going to do bottom of the hill, top of the hill, bottom of the hill for myself, and then I'm going to get that curve going. Once I've done that, I'm actually going to turn this on because I need to know in relationship to that that I'm working off something that is going to be in the final drawing. So that's really important. And then I'm going to come in and just make this, and this is kind of that 80, let's make it the slightly thinner, and then we're going to use our stroke to make that. So we're just going to say, what is a 10 point? Oh, too big. What is a 6 point? It's looking pretty close. Let's turn this guy off and move this out of the way and see. Oh, it's too big. Command Z. So let's go down to 5 point. Let's do 4.5 and call it a day. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Object, down to Path, and I'm going to outline that stroke, because then I can fix this, and I can also make it a little bit heavier here, and then it's going back in the distance here. So we'll be able to manipulate the perspective that way, and we'll also be able to fix these endpoints. So all we have to do for these endpoints is just tweak it so that it lays right on that line. I'm going to pull this line back a little bit. I'm going to pull this up a little bit because it should be thicker here and get thinner on the outsides because they're going away from us. So you always want to think about perspective. And I'm actually gonna pull that up a little bit more so that we can get a heavier line. And that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna call it a day on that element. I'm gonna turn those guys off and then I'm gonna mess around. Oh man, there's a line right here. I wish I had mimicked that. That's okay. I can do this. I can do a option drag, and then I can delete this point and delete this point and delete this point and delete this point, and then it's just a line. And you can see that it's trying to make a shape out of this. We can fix that by going into, I always forget where they put the scissors. I'm just going to clip it right there, and I'm going to clip it right there, and that becomes its own thing, and we'll drop it down there. And we're going to have these orange things coming off of it. So I'm actually going to leave this stuff up, and I'm also going to make that a 0.7. So we're moving that up a little further than it's showing in the drawing. I'm actually going to go to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke for this too, because you can see that if I don't, I have kind of this awkwardness. Oops, and Z. This awkwardness that's happening over here that we want to minimize. Hopefully we don't need this line again and have to do all of that again to get it back. And then if we want, we could actually move it up so again we have a little bit of sense of depth. All right, so we're going to make these orange shapes over the top of this or underneath this to make our lives easier, and we'll use that line as the thing that kind of hides things for us. And so we're just going to drop them in real quick, and let's go ahead and turn them orange so that we can see what they're looking like as we're building them. That should do it. All right. And again, our line comes up a little bit further than it actually does, but nobody's going to know this except for us, and we're not telling anybody. Nobody's ever going to miss that line was a little bit further. Now there's a little bit of curve here, so I'm going to go ahead and give that, let that happen. I'm going to actually delete one of these points because it's kind of making that curve a little bit awkward. Fewer points, the better. That's how you win this game in Illustrator. The more points you have, the more difficult it is. I didn't have that one quite down enough. So we're going to come over here and do this side. A little bit of a curve there that I didn't intend, but it's there. So I'm going to actually turn the head on as I'm drawing this so that I can make informed choices. Now I'm going to turn it off. Oops. Let's see if we have any more orange. We do. So again, I'm going to turn that head on, but this time, let's do this. I'm going to give myself that as a semi-transparent object, so that I can see where my lines need to be, because they're always a little bit different. You can see that my head's a little bit further out. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab that, top of the hill, bottom of the hill, top of the hill. I try to make these points in the same place. And the reason why is because it'll make your curve look more uniform if you do that. And then we'll just go in and pull these guys, keeping in mind that it gets smaller that direction. I'm going to move it back in a little bit.